of series that we started. So let me just put my camera in off so that we can focus on the presentation, and let me minimize this and move it somewhere here. Okay, good. So as I said, today we continue our series of presentation and the bootcamp about AWS as a user group from Kigali. So welcome again, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this session. And me who will be talking today, I'm Eric, solution architect certified. And for those who knows, I know Azubi, so I'm a trainer from Azubi, AWS trainer from Azubi. And you can reach me on LinkedIn. You can even WhatsApp me or even send me an email. So what we'll be talking about today is the instance storage. So the instance storage will cover most of the basic concept about the cloud storage, and within this we'll describe what we call instance store. Then we'll go in deep of the most important part of the cloud storage, which is the EBS or Elastic Block Store. Then we'll talk about AMI or Amazon Machine Image, and we'll talk about the EFS, which is the file system, but this one is now Amazon Elastic File System. So you know the file system already, because all of us use computer, then you should be able to describe what we call file system. So if now we call it Amazon Elastic File System, now it changes a little bit. And the technology behind this, that is what changes. So we'll talk about this. Then we'll also talk about or describe what you call FSX. So this is the Amazon FSX. Then we'll have like a summary of what we'll be talking about today. So let me do a short or a brief recap of what we did last time. So last time we talked about the instance, the EC2 instance. So the EC2 instance, what is it? What about it? Simply what we can call a virtual server. That's it. We can call it a virtual server. So when you launch an EC2 instance, you basically choose, there are some settings that you need to go through. And today I prefer to use a practical session just to demonstrate this, and because we'll need everything that we'll be talking about the EC2, just we'll need them when we talk about the cloud storage, the instance storage. So that's why I just want to make this a bit practical so that we can have this clear overview of the relationship between the EC2 instance, then the storage itself. So there are some couple of things that I need to talk about before I start creating an EC2 instance. The first one is when we started this, we started with what is cloud computing and what is AWS cloud computing, or what is AWS in fact. By talking that, we said that cloud computing is just as if you can say, I can outsource computing resources. Outsourcing means I don't need to own them, but whenever I need computing resources, then I can have them and pay for what I have used. That is what we call pay as you go. So that's simply a simple definition of cloud computing. It's just the provision of computing resources by pay as you go scheme. So the other thing we talked about is about users and groups, or IAM, in fact. So if I come in this, here you have logged in into my AWS account. So you can see here, if you can see from this side, I have my account and I have the ID of my account. But if you can see here, it is just showing account, and here it is showing global. Rene, you raised your hand?
Yes, we cannot see your window or the tab which you have opened your AWS account in. So if you can kindly share that as well. Thank you.
Okay, let me see. Okay, just a sec. Okay, it's showing some. Okay, let me see. It should be this one. Let me see now. Let me know if it is visible. It was only showing some tab.
Yes, it is now visible. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for raising that. So I was saying, if you see from your account, if you click on the name of the account, so you know when you're opening an account, it will ask you the name that will be displayed. And here, if you see the account, then you have that this is the root account. So the root account, that is the account that has all privileges. So by coming here in users and groups, or specifically IAM, that is the service in charge of managing access to AWS resources. Access means who and what is having access to what. So you are users, you are service, or use some service, and the service or users, they need access to what. So those are the resources which are managed by what we call IAM service. So this IAM service, I have created one group, a group which is a collection of IAM users. Then I have one group which is called admin, and within this group, I have created one user. This user is called this name. And from the permission, you can see that I have given it a policy name, which is administrator access. This means that this user or a group of users in this group can have all access that the administrator need to have. So what I want to show you from here is, by having this admin group and by adding users in this group, then those users will inherit everything from this group. Then everything in that group means if they have been given administrator access, that means everyone who is added in that group will be an administrator in that group. Now, if I click on users, so you can see from here, we are in IAM, then users, then a specific user, it will show you what we call, here I want to show you what we call security credentials. Security credentials that will manage how this user will sign in into the console. So you have, if you do remember, we have different ways of accessing AWS resources. That includes the console, the command line interface, and the SDK or for developers that you can include the APIs into the codes. Then the service or the application can access the AWS resources. But here we are using the console. So for this user, if you just see the user and click on security credentials, it will show you the console sign-in link for this specific user. So if you can see, it is started by the user name, then .signin.aws.amazon./console. So this one, if you copy it, then put it somewhere. This one is a private window, private tab that I have opened. But if I go on the other tab, which I think I need to share, then let me share this one. Okay, let me share this one. So is it visible?
It is, Eric. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Now, so from here, by just signing in into the console of that user, now you can see the difference between the two users. So the other one was the root user or the root account, but this one is the I am user. So that's the difference that you need to remember. So it will show you that the I am user that is logged in is Ndindiri, which is the user that I have created using the root account. Now, from this user, who is the administrator, because if you do remember correctly from the root account, I have created this user inside the group admin. So from here now, I can search for any service and perform any action, of course, with some limitation because I'm not the root user, but I'm the administrator. Now I can have we can have service and create some couple of things from here. Now, for the recap of what we did last time about the EC2 instance, I want to come back on how to create an EC2 instance and talk about some couple of stuff there. So if I click on instance, you can see from services, if you do remember the category of services, by logging in into the AWS console, the first of thing you need to consider is who is the user, then what is the availability zone that you are in, or you can call it the region. This one is the European region from Stockholm. Then this one is the region that I'm in. Now, from here, you can see the category of services. So services are here arranged by alphabetical order. So you should know what is the service do I need in which category. But without memorizing that, because it may take some time, you can search. You can just come here and search and say like EC2 or EBS or EFS or just anything that you can try to look for. Now, if you say, for example, EC2, it will come and take you here exactly on this console. So from the left side, you will see the dashboard, which will show you a couple of things, which resources are there, which one are running, which one are not running, and so on. Then if I click on instances, then I will see which are the instances that are running by this time. By this time, I have one instance which is running, and I may stop this instance or even terminate it however I want. So one of the things you need to remember to stop your lists when you are not using them, or after you are using them, to avoid being charged. So the instance state, that is something that you will need to see if it is in stopping or if it is somewhere in termination. If I touch instance, that means completely stop, or like deleting, shut down this instance, then I will see the instance state changing to something else. So let's see what will be the instance here. Aha. Now it is terminated. Now let's create our own instance. Let's create our own instance. Now, look at here and follow with me. If you have any question, you stop me and you raise it. When you are launching an instance, there are some couple of steps that you need to follow. What are those steps? The first of things you need is to add the name of your instance. So what do you want to call your instance? If you have a specific naming convention, you can use that. Or if you have the specific name of the server that you need to create, you can use that. Or you can use something again that you need, like my third instance, if you have created a couple of them. So here the name, it's just your name that you want. Now, the second step will be to choose the image, what you call the operating system image or AMI. So this one is like a template, like the operating system, application server, and the applications which are required to launch your instance. So there are a couple of images or operating system that are out there, pre-configured for you that you can choose. So for this demonstration, let's choose Amazon Linux. And you also need to remember something about free tier account. So the free tier account is just like this one that I'm using without, I don't need to pay anything, it's just for demonstration purpose. So you will see that some images are not free tier eligible. So you need to be careful for which one you are choosing. For example, one Amazon Linux 2 AMI, which is free tier eligible, then you can see it will show you actually that is free tier eligible. So after choosing the operating system or the image from which you want to boot your instance, something again very important, which is instance type, the instance type. So the instance type, what is it actually? It is choose computing power resources that you will have. The first one will be the processor, just the family, the processor, which is this one. Then how many virtual CPU? Remember, this is a virtual server, then it will have CPU, but in a virtual way. So how many virtual CPU do you have? That means if you have a lot of virtual CPU, you will have a lot of computation power. So this one is T3, T3.micro, which is a family of T3. How much memory will this have? That's also something that you need to consider. For this one, it will have 1 GB memory. Then, is it free tier eligible? Yes. Maybe if you scroll down, you will see that not much others are free tier eligible. Maybe only that one is only the one which is free tier eligible, the one which is T3 micro. So this is the only one which is free tier eligible. That means if you are a normal user in organization, you will have a couple of options depending on the need. What are the system requirements that are needed for your server? Then you may choose, for example, you may need to choose T3 large, which is 8 GB memory and 2 virtual CPU, or you may come in some other families like C families, which is like this one, which is 8 virtual CPU and 16 GB memory. For example, if you need a server which can perform some couple of things, remember, as you go for the higher computation power, that implies the money that, or the price, the cost that you will pay. Here it will show you on demand, for example, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you will pay 0. something per hour. If you choose a window, it will be higher a little bit. If you choose Linux, it will be somehow lower a bit. If you choose SUSE Linux, then it will be. So they show you Depending on your need, you will choose, but also you need to be careful on how much you will pay because it all goes with the price. So for our demonstration, let's choose T3.micro because that is the only one which is free tier eligible. So we saw up to there, we saw three things: the name, which is not much important, then the application, OS, the operating system or the image or the AMI that you will choose from the quick start. And here you will choose the AMI that is depending on your needs, but for the free tier account, you will be limited to those which are free tier eligible. Then the instance type, you will choose the one which is according to your need, but if you are using a free tier account, then you are limited to the free tier account eligible only. Now let's come to something again important, which is called key pair login. You can call it key pair. So this one is the pair of keys that you will need to connect securely to your instance. We will have a demonstration on this. We'll see this in a couple of seconds. So here you have created some keys, but if you need to create another key, so the key here is those who have done the encryption or cryptography, you know, RSA is a public key infrastructure, PKI. It generates a pair of keys, the one which is public and the other one which is private. So you remember, or you know, if you say the public key, that is the one which is known publicly by anyone on the internet, but the private one is the one owned by the individual. For example, if you need to encrypt something, if something has been encrypted by your private key, then the public key can encrypt it. That is for example, for the digital signature. So if you sign a document, you encrypt that document using your public key. Then to verify that the document has been signed by someone that is you, they will use the public key. So if the public key can decrypt the document that has been encrypted by your private key, then you are the one who has signed that document. That is called digital signature. And for the encryption, you can encrypt using the public key, then the private key will decrypt that. That means, for example, you are sending a message and the message is only to be seen by the owner. That means publicly you can encrypt the message using the public key, but the message, even though it is dropped somewhere, only the owner of the message will receive that message. So that is the public key and the private key. So here we can generate a key. Let's call it something like my third key pair. My third key, just like this. Let's choose the type to be RSA, which is one type. You can have another one, but for this demonstration, let's choose this one. And here you can see the format of the key. This is also important. If you are using OpenSSH, for those who are using the Mac and other computer like Linux, you can use PEM. And those who are using Windows who need security, then you can use PPK. So let's use PPK and let's create a key. And if we create a key, it will be created and it will be saved inside our own computer. Then you need to be careful to store this key, because if the key is compromised, then you are finished. So now, here you will have a couple of keys, then you need to choose which one you need depending on what you need to do. So let's choose the key pair key, which is my third key. Then let's go to networking sites, networking settings. Here I will skip some couple of settings, but to remind you, you need to know that every setting that you will do, every set of resources that you will need to create in AWS Cloud, it VPC. The VPC, which is virtual private cloud, or your pollution of network in the cloud, or the pollution of the cloud in the entire cloud, if you can say. And now, because whenever you start creating the resources, then there is what you can call a default VPC that will be created for you. The subnet or thing. Today there will be another session to go in deep of this. So you need the VPC, then you need subnet. Then let's maybe talk about this one, which is the security globe. So you talked about the security globe, which is like the firewall, like the rules that you need to set to control the traffic to your instance. So by setting those rules, then you will have to know who has access to my EC2 instances, from where. For example, if you say allow SSH traffic from anywhere, if you have this address, you know that is from anywhere, anyone, any device, any address can connect. I also need to allow the traffic that is coming from internet. So this one maybe will be like a web server, for example. Then I need the traffic, I need to allow the traffic from the internet to connect to my web server, that is HTTP traffic from the internet. So if I allow, you can add the other rules, but we don't need them now. If you allow that, then a security group called Launch Wizard 3 will be created, and this one will have those rules set up. So you can modify, we'll have like, for the security, we'll have a session for this, just to go in deep configuration of this. But for this demonstration, let's only focus on the security group by creating a security group which allows the traffic from the internet and allows the traffic from anywhere, but only to connect to SSH, only that, so that I can at least connect to my instance. The cloud storage. So this one is also very important. So I need a root volume where my instance will boot from. So it's like a hard drive where my instance will boot from. It's like having the hard drive. So if you do remember from today's technology, we have the SSD hard drive, and we have the magnetic storage or the magnetic hard drive. Those hard disks that we used to have before, which are big and which are having some disk, and when you start the computer, you will hear the noise, just those disks which start rotating just to read the data from the disk. So today we have SSD or magnetic storage that we can choose from. So if I go in a deeper little bit about this storage, so you will see that this storage can give you can have a couple of options. So what do you have actually? The one that I need to talk about now is this one, delete on termination. So take this EBS volume as the volume or the disk that you need your EC2 instance to start from or to boot from. It has a couple of characteristics that you will see very soon. So this is the device name, and this option, it gives you the control over what will happen on this volume whenever you terminate your EC2 instance. So do you want to delete this volume when you terminate your instance, or you want to keep it? If you want to delete it, you say yes. If you want to keep it, you say no. That will be your option or your choice. Then for a free tier account, you will have up to 30 GB of EBS volume, general purpose, which is SSD or magnetic storage. So you have the choice to choose between the two, but you are only limited to 30 GB. Now, after choosing this storage, by only having those, by setting this, let's show the simple details. By setting the volume that you need your EC2 instance to boot from, you have one volume of 8 GB, which is GP2 or general purpose root volume. Then let's stop by there. Then let's also have a couple of configuration here. Here I will skip some couple of things just to go on what we call user data. So other configuration, don't worry about them, we'll have the time for them. It's just for this demonstration. So the user data, what is that? This is where you can initially set what your web server or your server or your EC2 instance will do by uploading the data that are called user data. You can just have some script, like here I have some script that I will copy and paste here. And the script, what does it do? If you have some knowledge about this, you will see that this is a bash script, that is the Linux script that will be just loaded as a script in your Linux server. Then it will install, it will just make some updates, then it will install the HTTPD or this HTTP daemon, which is the web server. Then it will start it, then it will enable it. Then I also created, or there is a set of line, hello Kigali user group from this host. If you see this one, you know that you will see that some couple of syntax are almost the same. Those who are using PHP, they know this. Then this is the variable host name. Then this one will be passed, or it will create, or it will be saved to a file called index.html, which is saved under var /var/www/html. So I will show you what this means. So if I come back and I make a summary of what we did here, we just created an instance, an EC2 instance called my third instance. Then you have chosen a name, an operating system, which is Amazon Linux, Linux 2, which is a free tier account. I have also chosen the instance type, which is the free tier eligible T3. Then I have created a key pair login to be able to log in to my instance. Then I have chosen some couple of networking settings, which are really not much by this time up to this level, but it was just create a security group which will allow us to connect through SSH and allow traffic from the internet. Then we have configured the storage, which is the EBS volume. Then we have also passed some personal or user data just to have our EC2 instances as a web server by showing some lines as a server. So here on the summary, on the other side, you can see the summary, how many instances do you want to launch by this time. If you want to launch more than one, then you can do it. If you want to launch more than two, you can do it, and so and so. And it will also show you what you did, what you have chosen here, and so and so. And it will tell you some couple of information from the first year, includes 750 hours of T3 or T2 or T3 micro, depending on the region. So here you will know what you will be eligible for if you have a free tier account. So if I say launch the instance, it may take a couple of seconds for my instance to be launched. So if I get a green check, then I will know that my instance has been created. So who are creating the instance with me? So are you guys there? Are you guys doing this? Are there some people? You can just put it in the chat. You can just put it in the chat if you are just following or doing it with me, and we know where you are. And if you have any issue that you need assistance for, then we'll be there to assist. Then let's come back on the services. So under services, if I go to compute, okay, thank you for the feedback. Okay, now under services, if I go under compute service and I look for the EC2, what do I get from the EC2? So I will see, if I click on instances, I need to check which instances that I have created. I have created an instance which is called the third instance. And if I see here, it is still in initializing state. That means it is still booting, configuring the operating system, configuring the user data, and so on and so on. So by configuring everything there, if I refresh the page, I think maybe it has passed the stage of checking status check. It will be, let's see. Then if I click on the instance ID to view the configuration that I have made here, you will see a lot of configurations. But now let's focus on some. Let's focus on some configurations. Now, the configuration that I need to focus on are, let's say, this public IP address. Now, let me check again if it has checked or passed. Now, if you status check pass 2 out of 2 pass, then you know that your instance is already running and is ready to go. Now, let's see some couple of configurations. So if you go in details, you will see the summary here. And if you go, for example, in security, you will see that it has the security group that we have created, which is Launch Wizard 3. Then if you go in, let's see, if you go in storage, that is where you will see the volume that has been created. If you do remember the name of the volume. And if you come here on the public IP address, so that is the address that you will use to access your instance. So for example, if I copy this address and I come here in another tab, I paste the address, then because I have the IP address, the public IP address, I have the security group, which allows me to connect to or to view this instance, the content of this instance. Then I will see, if you do remember, the code or the script that you have passed to this instance as the user data. Hello, Kigali user group from which host? This one. It just gives me the IP address. But this IP address, if you can come here and see, this one will be the private IP address. It will give me 2 addresses or more than 2, just by hiding some details by now. So the address that I need now is the public IP address and the private one. So the private one, that is what is shown here. And the public one, that is the one that I need to use here. Remember, I have used HTTP, not HTTPS. If you do remember from the security, from this security group, the rule that is there is to connect or to allow connection from internet by by HTTP, not HTTPS. So the port is 80 and the port is not 443, which is HTTPS. That's why here, if you put the HTTPS, it will not work. So it needs to be HTTP because the security group you have set here is HTTP. The inbound rule that you have set here is HTTPN, is not HTTPS. So if you come back here and you see, when you come back here and just coming back to the running and come here in the storage, you will see the storage which is here. So the storage which is here is the volume, the block device. We will talk about the block device. So I just need to make sure that you can remember what is how to create an instance and what are some couple of configurations that you need. So if we see that from the security we have enabled the SSH that you can connect using the key pair, that you have generated. So if you don't have PuTTY enabled or downloaded or configured from your device, then you can download one. And I want to show you how you can just connect to this instance or to this server. Now, what do I need? I need the host name. So from the PuTTY, just to make or to create a secure connection, I need to know the IP address or the host name. So I have the public IP address. That is the one that I will use. From the running instance, I will copy the IP address, then I will come and put it here. And I have the port, which is 22, which means SSH. And what do I need again? I need to be authenticated. So from the authentication, I will need the private key that I have downloaded or I have created. Remember that we have created the key pair and saved it somewhere secure in our computer. Then I will need that key to create a connection. So that is what I will need. Then by browsing this key, then if I go back here by putting the IP address of this server that you have created, then the port, then we can open the connection. Remember to put the key that you have downloaded or created first, then downloaded. Then if I try to open the connection, I will see that I need to accept this connection, and there is a user which is created on that EC2. The user is called the EC2 user. That's the user that is created by default. And if I'm able to be authenticated, if everything is okay, then I will have the connection created, and I am now inside this EC2 server. Now, what is showing me that I'm in? For example, if I can issue some commands like pwd, print work directory. So I will see the user which is logged in. And Rene?
Yes, can you share the tab of which you're using the console on?
It's not visible?
Yes, we can only see the AWS. We can only see the AWS dashboard, yes.
Now it should be visible, so I need to share everything that changed need to be shared apart. Is it visible now?
It is, thank you.
Okay, good. So actually what I did is, after creating the PuTTY, connecting by the IP address, the public IP address, then I have entered the user that is on the EC2 server. Then we're using the key that we have created. Now I can log in into the server, then I can verify who is the user logging in there. So maybe if we can see from the script, we have created a script and we have loaded into this server. The script was saved under, if I go in /var/www/html. So if I go inside this directory, and there should be a file called index.html. If you can see inside this directory, there is this file that is displaying what the text that we are seeing here. So that is the text we are seeing. We were able to see from there, and if you can see, it is saying hello Kigali user group from this and this. So that is the user data that we have passed to this server, and it has been saved under this index.html file. So that shows that you can actually pass your own customized files or code or script that the server will display or do something. So if we actually say we have, what am I sharing? So if we actually say we have the, I don't know what you guys are seeing. Okay, it should be this one. If we actually say we have the server or the virtual server, that is what we actually mean. We mean that you can create a virtual server, pass your own scripts that you have created, run them, test them. If you are done testing them, then you can come back and get rid of the server to avoid being charged. So this has removed the necessity to have the physical server in order to test your code. So that is the advantage of cloud computing. So this is just a recap, but also it gives us the introduction of what we are going to see today, because we are going just to focus on the storage, on this part of the storage, but it needs to be clear that we need the storage to store our EC2 instances and also our data. So it needs to be clear in this way. So I need to check in the chat if there is any question. If there is any question, if there is anyone who is having anything to ask, you can put it in the chat, you can raise the hand, you will have the response. So after this recap, by creating these two incidents, by seeing different configuration that you need to configure, by just knowing, let me see which screen you are seeing. Okay, this one. So now you can come back, and we just talked about some couple of things here. Now we can come back and see more details about the EC2 storage. So this one, how do I get rid of it? Okay, good. So any questions so far? Is everything clear how to create an EC2 instance and set some couple of configurations and access the server itself?
Yes.
So that,
yes,
so
please.
that you, okay, good, thank you. So you can just load your own data, your own scripts. Now,
thank you. So, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I missed that part where you had bash script, the script that says hello Kigali, something. So that's before you launched the instance, the place where you have that script.
Before I launch the instance, okay. So you mean the user data, is that the part?
Yes. How, where we see that user data.
Okay, where we see that user data. So if I come back a little bit, let me just sec, let me share this one. I think from here, let me know if my screen is visible. Is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
So if I go back a little bit, even without creating the EC2 instance, but if I go back into the steps of creating the EC2 instance and you go in advance, and this is where you put the user data, that is when you want the server to do something initially. So that is the data that you initially issue to your server so that they will be executed when the server is booting initially. Then this is where you load them. You can choose a file, or you can upload a file. For example, I don't know if I have some script there that you can maybe, you see, you can even choose the file itself, or you can just write the script yourself. So after loading them, then this is what they will do. Just when your server will start, then you will have what you have entered into the user data. Then we have also tried to verify that what we see. I'm trying to share the terminal.
So it saves the user data under this folder, HTML. Right.
Now, so yeah. So we have saved our data under /var/www/html. Then here I was trying to show you on this server that I was able to SSH or to access remotely. I can go on and even modify this file. You can just modify it or load another one, or just load in this folder, load something else. Then from there, the reason why we need user data is just to initially have something on your server. Then after that, you can modify, you can add, you can delete, you can do whatever you want. But initially, you need your server to have those personal or those data that they will be loaded initially. So here was just to show you that those user data that are passed to your server are just there. They did not disappear actually. So
okay, but the directory, were you the one that specified it should be on this directory?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do remember, see, yeah, let me come back on this. If you do remember from this script, can you see a stick note which is open?
Yes, I can see.
From here, I'm just the one who specifically.
Okay, it's on the script. Thank you.
Yeah, it's in the script itself. Okay, thank you. Now, let's come back on the storage itself. So here I was trying to show you how to create the EC2 instance and what steps you need to take care of. And if we talk about the cloud storage itself, so as with the computer itself, whenever you are running your application on the virtual server, you need a storage. And you need what you call block level storage. So think of block level storage as a place to store files. It's just a place to store files. That is simply, you can have the example of a hard drive. So whenever you are accessing your files from the hard drive, actually you are accessing the block level storage, which is different from what we call object level storage that you will receive with another storage technology, which is EC3. If some of you know, that one is object level storage, but the EBS is the block level storage. So the block level storage is the one that really our EC2 instances needs when they are storing their own data. So we have a couple of them actually. The first one is the instance store. The instance store volume is the temporary one. So whenever you create or you launch an EC2 instance, just give me a minute, please. Okay, thank you. So I was saying that whenever you have an EC2 instance launched, it will give you what you call instance store volume. But this one is like a temporary storage. And the problem with this is that it gets deleted whenever you terminate your instance. So you are in trouble if you don't have another persisting data storage, which may be the EBS volume, the EFS, or the S3 storage. So it is very important to know that you can launch your EC2 instance with the instance store, but the issue is that it gets deleted, or every data are deleted whenever the instance store, whenever the instance itself is deleted. So what is an instance store, if you can say? As I said, it is getting created whenever you launch the instance. Now, what actually is happening is, I don't know if among you, there are some people who have worked with VMware, for example. Do you know VMware or VirtualBox? Is it a VirtualBox or lack of VirtualBox? Where you can create...
Yes, VMware.
You know that, good. Very good. So you have your own physical laptop, but you need to create some servers that you need maybe for testing. So you install VMware, then you can create a virtual machine. So those virtual machine, actually you are creating them from the physical laptop that you have. So the same logic is applied when you are creating EC2 instances. So they are basically created from the physical hosts, which are sitting in a data center somewhere in an availability zone. So whenever you create an EC2 instance, it is actually created from on the top of a physical instance, but you don't have control on from which physical instance that is the physical host that the EC2 instance will be created from. So if you don't have that control, that means if the instance is created now, if it is terminated or stopped, it may be created from another physical instance. The reason for this is, let me give you a demonstration and it will be easier for you to understand this. Let me show you. Where is my EC2 instance? Let me come back here and I think this. Which one am I sharing? So do you see my console? You see the console?
Yeah, we can see that.
So from this console, let me show you that this EC2 instance is having this IP address, the public IP address. Let's keep it somewhere. We actually even have it somewhere here. We have another browser which is open, another tab which is open. Now let me come here and stop my instance or reboot my instance. I just choose the instance and come here in actions and instance state, and I reboot my instance. So whenever I reboot my instance, I want to show you what will happen actually. Am I getting something like what is saying? Let me see. So let me stop it completely and Let me stop it and start it again. Just if this is stopped, I need to check if this is stopped. Is it stopping? Oh, no, it's still in stopping mode. And let me refresh the page again. Is it still in stopping mode? Okay, still in stopping mode, and I'll come back on this, but let me refresh again and see if now it is stopped correctly. And I just need to show you what is going on there. So I will come back on this. I just want to demonstrate what is really happening whenever you try to stop the EC2 instance. Now, actually, what I want to show you there, we'll come back there, is that whenever you stop this EC2 instance and you start it again, it is likely that it will restart on another host. The demonstration that I want you to see is that if the IP address is owned by the physical host, then the same EC2 instance that will be created from that physical host will take that IP address. Then whenever you restart your EC2 instance, it may start on another host, which means it will take the IP address of that physical host. That's actually what is happening. So that's why even the block storage that it has taken, the temporary one, which is called instance store, it will inherit that from the physical host where it has been created. So if it is rebooting from another host, that means that temporary storage will be lost because it will remain on the physical host, then it will not be taken with these two instances. So I think from now, maybe the instance, our instance has stopped. And if it has stopped, then I can, still stopping. Okay, let me just wait for a couple of seconds. After stopping that, maybe I can even, let me try to start it again. Okay, it will just need to be stopped before it gets started. So the limitation of this instance store is that you lose the data whenever you start, or you stop, or you terminate the instance. What do you need? You need a persistent data storage. The use case of this instance store or the temporary one, it is really fast, but it can only hold the temporary files. So whenever you are doing something like testing applications and whatever, you can use this instance store because you don't really need to keep your data running. So here they are showing you that this one EC2 instance store is really fast. The IOPS that you see most of the time, it is input output per second. So what is the speed? What can this read? The read speed and the write speed. You will see most of the time that the read speed is more than the write speed. So the instance store is really fast compared to the EBS volume. But the issue is, as we said, we cannot be sure that our data will persist if the EC2 instance is stopped. So whenever you need an EBS, like a volume where you will have your data to be persistent, then you need to think about another type of storage, which is most probably the elastic block store. So the EBS, think of it as a volume or a network drive where you can attach your instance while they are running. It allows your instance to persist data even after termination. But remember, we have seen somewhere that you can control if your EBS volume will be deleted or not after the termination. So it's just like a network USB stick. The network USB stick, why? Because you can attach it to an EBS volume and detach it. No, you can attach it to an instance or detach it. So it's simply like that. It's just like a USB that you can attach to a computer and take it out. As we have seen, you are given 30 GB of free EBS volume. So they are just network drive which are locked to the availability zone. That means if we change the availability zone, your volume will be, it will not be visible from the other availability zone. And they have provisioned the capacity in size, gigabyte, and in input output per second, or IOPS. So those are the size or the factors that determine the capacity of this EBS volume. So think of it as if you have the network drive where you can attach your EC2 instance, and they are only visible in one availability zone. So if you change the availability zone, then you will not see the EBS volume. We will see that in a minute. So this option, you have seen it where you can say, I need my EBS volume to be deleted on termination, or I need it to be kept when the instance is terminated. So it's up to you to choose. So the snapshot, it's simply the backup. Take a snapshot as a backup. As a backup of your volume at one point of time. So in order not to lose your data, it's highly recommended to do the snapshot or the backup. So take snapshot as another name of the backup. So you can just copy your snapshot across different availability zone and regions. So this is done in a way of securing your data so that you cannot lose them. So if you can do the backup, truly speaking, it means you can do the restore. So that's the meaning. Do the backup or the snapshot. Then if there is any issue on the volume, then you can do the restore. That is just simple like that. So the EBS volume, they have another feature which is called snapshot archive. So whenever you see the archive in AWS storage or any other service which talks about the storage, and you see the archive, you have to know that the archive means whatever data that I don't really need to use frequently, I can take them somewhere, but the price to keep them for me, it's cheaper. Like here you see 75% cheaper compared to the normal EBS snapshot. That means if there's some data that you really don't want to use right now or frequently, you can move them to EBS snapshot by archive. Archive means you can just put them there and the price that you will pay will be reduced. But you have to remember something. If you have taken them to archive, you need to remember that to restore those data which are in archive, it may take a while. It may take more than a day, 24 hours to 72 hours, depending on the options that you have set or the price that you need to pay. So that's the thing that you need to know. When we will be talking about the EC3, you will see that the same thing is applied. So it is just to know that you pay less price for your data to be stored, but you also need to consider that if you need your data back, it will take time. It will take some time to get your data restored. The recycle bin for the EBS snapshot is what we call, let's say you have the snapshot, but they have never been used. You have never wanted to restore them. So you can set what we call retention rules where your backup or snapshot will be kept for some time, let's say for 1 year. Then after 1 year, they will be deleted. So those are called retention rules. We'll see even on S3 that they are what we call retention rules, or they are called again, they have some other terms depending on the what we are talking about, but they are just there to control how long you keep your data. So you need to be aware of that. The types that we have, I talked about this. We have general purpose SSD, and we have basically we have SSD and hard disk drive, the one that are magnetic. You have to know that the SSD are more expensive. That's one thing, but they are not really robust. Robust in terms of the size, but they are really useful. If you do have computer today, or if you are going to buy a computer, I don't think, if you really know that, you will choose a computer today with a hard disk drive or the magnetic hard drive. First of all, they are not, they are slow if you can compare them to SSD. If you have seen the SSD laptop, they really boot up very quickly. So the same thing applied on solid state drives. They are useful for low latency applications. They are really fast. So, but the size that they support is not really big compared to the size of hard disk drive or those magnetic one. And even the maximum IOPS, or input output per second, it's not that much big compared to the other one. So within solid state, we have two: general purpose and provisioned. So whenever you need very high volume, you need to go to provisioned. Whenever you need maximum or very high IOPS, you need to go for provisioned IOPS. But we need to know that the price is high. The same thing applied to hard drive disk. To hard disk drives, we have two types here: the throughput optimized and the cored HDD. That's the cored one, which is mainly used for archive or for infrequently accessed data. Just if you want, you have some data to be kept as a backup, you can use cored HDD or hard disk drive. And the throughput optimized, that is when you need the maximum or the very high level of IOPS. So you need to go to throughput optimized. So the real big difference here is the SSD are really quick, or they are fast compared to the hard disk drive, but the price is high and the capacity in terms of gigabyte and IOPS is lower compared to hard disk drive, but they are really fast. So let's talk about, let me come back on something which is that I talked about very recently, and I will also demonstrate some couple of other things. Okay, now let me share what is on my console. Just sec, what is the console? Should be this one. Is it what is? Okay, let me see if you can see. Let me know if you can see my console.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, now this is sorry. So this is my instance, which is in stopped state, sorry. So if I start it, I need to check it. If I have a couple of them, I need to choose it and start it. So if I start it, it has started successfully and it is in a pending state. What I want to show you is that you can see if it is in a stopped state, the public address is gone, but the private address is kept. So the private address, we don't have any issue with it, but the public address is gone. Now, let's see. if it is really started and it have passed the check, those checked is still running, you will see that, just let me choose it again. What is the IP address we have now? Do you remember the IP address we used to have? We used to have 13.53.182.148. No, 142. Let me show you if maybe this one is visible. Can you see? Can you see the output of the previous server? You see that?
Yeah, we can see Hello Kigali. Is that good?
Okay, now this is the previous server. So if I try to refresh this, you will see that it will load indefinitely, or it will even fail because actually the server is no longer there. So the IP address, the public IP address is no longer accessible. Why? Because simply so can you see? Okay, now I think what you see. So because simply, if you can see my console, because simply the IP address, the public IP address of my instance has changed. So it is actually the same instance, but simply because I have stopped it and restarted, my IP address has changed. And you can see that it is showing me the problem loading page, which means the server is no longer available because the public IP address has changed. What is the solution for this? Then we will see that using what we call elastic IP address. So if you remember, or if you see somewhere elastic IP address, remember that there is someone who talked about it, but it's simply like a static IP address. Take it as a static IP address where you have your DHCP server, which provides you the IP address, but whenever you are gone, when you come back, you will have a new IP address. But the static IP, you will have the same IP address every time. So my instance has passed the check-in. Now, what do I need? If I copy the same IP address, which is now 13.49, and the previous one was 13.53, then I copy this one, I will see that the server is now accessible from the public IP address that I see from here. So this is just to show you that if you stop the instance, even the instance store has been lost. So maybe because we only have from the storage part, we had this EBS volume, then we are lucky our data will not be lost because we had this volume from the start. So if I go to volumes here from the left side panel, then you will see that I have one volume here. I have one volume here, one of 8 GB size, the one that we created for our EC2 instance to boot from. Then we talked about that the EBS volume are locked by availability zone. For example, now I'm in Stockholm. Then if I go, for example, to Ohio, US East 2, if I go there and I just change the availability zone, and let me try to see if there is any volume there. I will see that basically there are no volume. You currently have no volumes in this region. Why? Because simply volume are not global, but simply they are locked by the availability zone. But if I come back in Stockholm, then I need to be sure that I will have my volumes there. So you have to know that the volume are locked by the availability zone. So this is what you need to remember, that you can create the volume, you can create any volume, and let's give it size of, let's say 8. And let's now create this volume in, what is Stockholm? Is it European North 1? So let's create this in another availability zone, which is, let's say B. And come here down, we will not include this, but we just need to create the volume. So we said that a volume, an EBS volume, is simply a network drive. So network drive can be created and attached to any instance. So we have created our EBS volume, and we have created this one in, this is the one that you created in European North 1B. This is the one you created, and it is still in creation mode. So if it is showing you in use, basically if I click on this volume, it will show me on which instance it is attached to. Can you see it here? It is showing me attached to an instance for an EC2 instance. So whenever it is showing me in use, it means that it is attached to an EC2 instance. So if I come back here and I see the other one that I have created, you see the volume state is available but not in use. So whenever I need to attach this volume to another instance or to an instance, so basically you create a volume, then you attach it. And for example, I can see, oh, there is no instance in this availability zone. You see, this is simply because I have created this this volume in another availability zone. But if I create this volume, for example, let me come back here on the instance and see this instance is created in Europe North 1, A1. Now let's go to volume. I think you are seeing the reason why I cannot find any instance here. So what I wanted to do is to take this to take this volume that I have created and attach it to volume to an instance. Now the problem is the availability zone where I have created my volume, there is no instance which is there. That's the problem. So if I come back here, let me create another volume in availability zone 1 in European North A1, and just simply create this. Let's give it like 10, just to make a difference between the other one. Then create it. Wait for some seconds for it to be created and be available. Then you will see that because it is in the same availability zone as the EC2 instance, then I can take the volume that I have created and attach it to, now it's available, it's really fast. If I choose it, I need to select it and come here in actions, then attach. If I come here, you will see that my third instance is there because they are just locked in the availability zone. So if I attach it, then I have green light here that is attached. Then if I come back in instances, I choose this instance and I go in storage, you will see that now this time I should have how many storage? I should basically have two volumes which are attached to my, so if I come here in storage, I should basically have 2 volumes. So block device, I have 2 block device. So the one which is 8 in size and the other one that you created right now, which is 10 GB. So you have, sorry? Any question? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think maybe it's someone who unmuted accidentally.
Okay, good. So here you wanted just to demonstrate how you can create a volume and attach it to an EC2 instance. So basically an EC2 instance can be attached, just multiple volume can be attached to an EC2 instance. So whenever you want to detach this EC2, this volume, you can do that. So if you go back in the volumes and you select this one, I think should be the last one that we have created, and you go back in actions, then you detach it. That means it's like you have connected the flash drive, but you want to take it to detach it from your computer. So if you come and detach it, and if you see a green light, then just to demonstrate this, you need to go back to your instance where you were having like two block storage. Now you only have one because the other one has been successfully detached. We talked about snapshots. So snapshots, they are basically like copies or backup. So if I come here in volume, for example, take this volume and come here in actions and create a snapshot. The snapshot, I can give it a description like my third snap. Yeah, something like this, and create it. If I create this one and I come here in snapshot, you will see that I will have a snapshot which is created. So from the snapshot, let me see, the one that, okay, this one, that is the one that we created right now. So you will see I have a snapshot. So there are a couple of things that you can create. You can just do about the snapshot, recycle bin, some other actions that you can create an image from snapshot. You can delete it. You can modify permissions. You can set how the restore will be done. You can archive the snapshot. So those are the types of actions that you can do. The next topic will be about AMI or Amazon Machine Images. So this one is simply like, I think some people here may know what we call image, just from Windows perspective, from operating systems of Windows. You can set up a computer if you have, let's say you have like 10 or 20 computers that you need to set up. So you set up the computer, you put the drivers, you put everything, then you create an image from that operating system. Now you can use that image to install other new computers. Have someone done this before? People who are like ancien combattant or
Yes. Yes. Create the image.
Absolutely, those are the images. So you can do the same thing here. So you have your instance which is running. Now you have set up, you have installed some couple of applications on that instance, and now you want to use the same instance just to create other instances. So instead of creating other instances from scratch, you can create an image from this instance, then use that image to create other instances. My third, let's call it my third image, and just leave a couple of things as they are, then create image. Now, after creating this image, for example, if I come back here and I see the images, do I have the third image? Yes, it is there, and it's totally private. So it is still in a pending state, which means it is not yet available for use. But if I refresh the page, let me see if it is now available. What is it? Still in pending. It just take a couple of seconds to be available because it needs to be created as if you are just loading the normal operating system. So the one that I want to show you is when I need now to launch a new instance. So if I click on launch instance, and now I can come here in my, okay, so what you can see here is I used to have my AMI or IMI, whatever you can call it. So it will show me owned by me or shared with me. So the one that I have created myself will be shown by owned by me. So if you do remember, we created an Amazon machine image, which is called my third image. So this one will be, can be used to launch other instances. Simply by launching instance using this, it will just, I will have the same copy of instances as the one that I have now running. So this is just to easier the job. Instead of, if I need to set up a new instance, instead of having it configured from scratch, I can like copy the existing one and make new one from the other one. So that's simply the AMI that we talked about. So you can just read more about it, but it is just to easier the job of creating new instances. It's just you need your instance running, then you need to create an AMI, then you launch an MI from that instance which is running. There is another tool also which can easier the job. It is called EC2 Image Builder, which can create instances from AMI. So this one also can automate the creation of new virtual machines or image container images. So this one can be another tool just to easier that job. We will not talk about it much more. It's just for you to know that it is used to automate the creation of new virtual machines. So we talked about EBS more because they are mainly the one which are used to store the EC2 instances, but there are other couple of storage options that exist out there. The other one is called elastic file system. So consider file system as you have one or you have multiple computers which are distributed over the network, and you want to keep the same file system. So the file system that they are accessing, which is the network file system, you want it to be the same. So what you will do is you will create a file system and you will connect your EC2 instances. So instead of your EC2 instances managing its own file system, you will have one which is distributed. So it's simply as simple as that. It's just a network file system. For those who knows network file system from Windows or from Linux that are mounted to, you have a file system and you have to mount it to your host so that it can be accessible. So that is the comparison. So this one from AWS is called elastic file system. If you can compare elastic file system with the EBS are used just to store the EC2 instance itself, and you can create snapshot from that EBS, and whenever you need it, you can restore the EBS to another availability zone. But the EFS is just like a point where you need to mount it to an EC2 instance from one availability zone, and even the other availability zone, you can mount the same EFS target, and the EC2 instances in that availability zone can use the same elastic file system. So this elastic file system is just a shared file system, while the ABS can be owned by one instance, or it can be just used by one instance at times. So those are the things that you need to know. And there is what we call an frequent access EFS. So this one is just when you have access which is really not frequent. So you can say, instead of continue using the standard one, let's have this one which will lower the cost of the payment that I will need, but now this time I will only have to pay some fraction of money. So this one will automatically move your files to unfrequent access, because you are not accessing those files. It is every time try to save money that you are paying. For example, files that are not accessed for 60 days will be moved to EFS and frequent access. So this one is the configuration that can be made. So there are other file systems depending on the third party or even the specific needs, like this one, EFSX, which is a high performance file system, and it's a fully managed service, and there are a lot of versions of it. There is EFSX for Restro, there is EFSX for Windows File Server, and there is EFSX for NetApp. Those are the different couple of versions of EFSX which exist. So you have to know that they are just Windows native shared file system. So you know Windows file system. So this one is specifically for file system on Windows. They are just built for file system on Windows. So if you see FSX, you have to know that they are for Windows file system. They support SMB, which is this is the protocol for Windows file system, and it supports NTFS for the other file system that we use in our own computer. And it can be integrated with Active Directory, which means a lot of users can access it using the Active Directory technology. So this one is for Restro, is just for high performing computing. For example, for gaming, for video processing, for financial modeling, and so on. And what is your responsibility as a customer? Always, AWS is responsible for the infrastructure and just to secure the infrastructure. It is also responsible for replication of data across the EBS volume and the EFS drive. And if there is any faulty hardware, that is the job of AWS to replace it. And it has to ensure that the employee cannot access your data. So you are ensured that AWS employee cannot or can never access your data. So it's up to you to set up your backup and snapshot. It's up to you to set the encryption. We did not talk about the encryption. If you have seen in those steps, there are somewhere that you need to choose to encrypt your data, and you are it's up to you to manage the key, or you can use the key that are managed by AWS. So that means your data are not encrypted by default. So it's your responsibility to encrypt your data. It's your responsibility of any data on the drive. That's your responsibility, because if you have seen, there is this security group that you control who has access to your personal data. So understanding the risk of using EC2 instance store, it's also your responsibility. Without come and say, I have lost my data, you have to know which technology you have used and which one you need to use depending on the use case. So basically that's all for today session. So I've talked about the EBS volume. You saw a lot of a couple of demonstration and the link between the EC2 instance and the EBS volume and how they are managed. And we have seen how you can create a new EC2 instance from AMI and the image builder, which is a tool to automatically build and test your EC2 instance from EMI. And you have seen that the EC2 instance store is just there for high performance, but it does not persist data. Then you have other couple of storage options like EFS, Elastic File System. Then you have EFSX for Windows and EFSX for Restro, which is for high performance computing Linux file system. So if there is any question, I'm right here to answer that. Cynthia, are you there? Is there anyone who has any question? I'm checking the chat. Okay, I think this one was the question that was asked to me, the section where you had the bash script. So this one, I think I have answered that. Okay, so if there is another question, then I'm here to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Honestly, this was really amazing. I learned a lot, and I hope everyone learned something. I don't know if anyone has a question before we move on to the Kahoot game. Does anyone has a question?
I'm checking the chat to see if there is anyone. For me, no. Thank you, AB.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
no one.
Can 2 EC2. So someone is, let me see the question that they think is in the chat somewhere.
Yeah, maybe I can read it for you. Kevin asked, can 2 EC2 instances share the same EBS volume?
Okay, so for this one, you have to know that recently Amazon released a feature called multi-attach, so which allows instance to share a single EBS volume up to 16 instances. So actually, this is possible with some new features that has been released. So you can have 2 EC2 instances share the same volume with what we call multi-attach. So that's maybe some advanced configuration that need some advanced configuration things, but you have to know that with multi-attach, you can set up to 16 instances to share a single EBS volume. Yes, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you for that, Eric. I think maybe we can have the Kahoot game, and then people can also ask maybe after the Kahoot game.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah, I hope you can now see my screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so let's start this. So let me share the link to share. I'm just sharing it in the chat. So if you're new to Kahoot, first click that link and then you can enter the name. It would be good if you use the same name that you use If he sells, who sells, so that we're aware who live there. Okay, nice. I can see Hilary already. So yeah, it would be good if you use the same name. So we're able to recognize who did the test and who didn't. So there's some people who haven't joined. James, I can see you there. Emmanuel Mugabo. Who else? Oh, okay, great. Hari Ashil. Okay, great. So you left to join. Okay, James. Okay, I think those are the people. Yeah, I think those are the people. So yeah, let's start. So this is practice tests. The first question. Which of the following is a fully managed native Microsoft Windows file system? You can use this to see how many seconds are left. Okay, so I see someone chose EBS and then two people, yes. So EBS, as Eric said, it's just a block storage for the EC2 instance. But then if you want a fully managed native Microsoft Windows, you use FSX, yeah. So let's go to the next. Who's on the top? Okay, Kevin and then Sal. Okay. What are AMIs not used for? Please. 5 seconds left. 2, 3, 1. Okay, yeah, great. So as Eric said again, AMIs helps you to set up your EC2 instance. So you can create an AMI and then specify your operating system, software license, or add your own configuration. As you've seen, Eric added some data, and then the instance already had some data already. So all those things you can configure, but then you can add your own IP address. So IP address are given by AWS. So let's continue. Yes, Kevin, I can see people are getting more points. That's nice. EBS volumes cannot be attached to multiple instances at a time. So we have the equal number of people. EBS volumes cannot be attached to multiple EC2 instances at a time. I agree, actually, both can be correct because of the multi-attach new feature that was added. Now it's possible to do the multi-attach. But then before you couldn't, because an EBS can only be attached to a particular instance in a particular availability zone. So yeah, I agree this could be both true and false. So okay, I can see Sarge going to the top. The next question, an EBS volume is a network drive you can attach to running instance. Does the instance's data persist after termination? Great, so the correct answer is true, because as we've seen, with instance store, when you terminate, it's likely that, it's not actually likely, your data won't persist, but with EBS, when you terminate, it persists. So, okay, Kevin is on the tab again. Let's go to the next question. Which statement is correct regarding EC2 instance store? Okay, so we have someone who chose it's not good to use as this to cache content. Actually, it can be used to cache content because I believe it's because of this better IO performance. But then your data is not safe with EC2 instance store because it can be launched from another physical computer, like physical compute. So it's likely that you won't get your data back. And this is the correct answer because your data is lost when an instance is terminated, and it's good with it has like a high read capacity compared to others. So let's go to the next one. Okay. What is an EBS snapshot? Okay. Great. I'm happy to see everyone got it correct. So a backup of the EBS volume at a point in time. Okay, you can see people going at the top. That's nice. Where can you find a third-party AMI so you can use it to launch your EC2 instance? Oh, this is really nice. So yes, you can go to AWS Marketplace and then find other AMIs that other people have created. So we have Kevin. Oh, Bilal is going to the top. That's nice. Let's go to the next one. What is an EBS volume tied to? Okay. So some people say region and then, but availability zone is the correct one because with EBS, there's a demonstration that Eric showed that when you change an availability zone, you won't find the EBS created in another availability zone. So the EBS is available to a particular availability zone and can be attached to an instance which has also the same availability zone. Okay, so it is moving to the top. The next question, which EC2 storage would you use to create a shared network file system for your EC2 instance? Oh, this is really nice. Yes. So the keyword here was shared network file system, and the answer should be EFS. Next. Hillary again on the top. That's nice. Which service can be used to automate image management processes? Some said AMI, and then others said, yeah, one said, oh, actually we have. So the correct answer is EC2 image builder because EBS snapshot doesn't help with automating image management processes. When they say image is the AMIs that they're saying. So only with EC2 image builder, you can automate the process. Instead of doing it manually, you can automate the process of building the AMI. And IAM is not related because, yeah, we're talking about images. Oh, okay, Kevin, Hilary. Okay, the next is name the different pricing models for EC2. This was covered last week. Oh, this is really nice, yes. So all these ones are all the different ways you can purchase an EC2. Yes, so let's move on to the next one. You want to preserve the root volume when instance is terminated. What can we do? You want to preserve. Okay, so the correct answer is disable because by default, I don't know if you guys remember the demonstration Eric showed, whereby when you create an EC2 instance, there is a volume that is attached, and by default, it's deleted when you terminate your EC2 instance. So if you don't want your EBS to be deleted, you have to disable the delete on termination attribute. So let's go to the next one. What are the possible storage options available for EC2 instances? Great. Yeah, this is really nice. I love that everyone got it correct. So let's move on to the next one. What are some of the EBS snapshot features? Great. So EBS snapshot archive and recycle bin are both the features of EBS snapshot. I think someone responded only recycle bin, but there's also archive when you don't want to maybe spend a lot of cost on snapshots, so you can archive them and get them when you want them, but that can take 12 to 24 hours when you want to get them. And for recycle bin, instead of deleting and immediately losing them, they go to the recycle bin and you can recover them again when you need. Great. Let's move on. Which of the following option is not a point of consideration when choose an AWS region? Okay, some people chose compliancy with data governance. This is actually one of the important things that you should consider when choosing a region. Some countries have some compliancy with data governance that doesn't allow them to just choose any region. So this is among, but capacity availability is not among, because if a service is there in a particular region, so you can get it at any capacity that you want. Okay, Kevin Hillary says, which EC2 purchasing option can provide the biggest discount but is not suitable for critical jobs or databases? Okay, spot instances. Some people chose which one? The green convertible instances. But the correct answer is spot instances because you can bid like a particular price and then you get an instance at a lower price. But this can also be taken away from you anytime. That's why it's not good for critical jobs or something that will be running for a long time. Okay. Let's go to how long can you reserve an EC2 reserve instance? How long can you reserve an EC2 reserve instance? Okay, wait. Someone chose anytime between 1 and 3, but as I think Renee said this last week that it's either 1 or 3 years. It's not somewhere like in between. So you choose. You can reserve an instance for 1 or 3 years. So let's continue to the next one. A user wants to use a storage that can be attached to multiple instances in different availability zones. Which one is the correct? Okay. So yes, EFS is the correct one. Yeah, but EBS is not the correct one because EBS can only be attached to one instance at a time, unless there is the multi-attach, which is the advanced feature you have to enable. And then with EFS, yes, you can attach it to multiple instances in different availability zones. I'm not sure if EBS multi-attach allows to do in different availability zones, or they have to be in the same availability zone. Maybe Eric, can you help me on that?
I was mute. So you said, can you repeat again?
So with EBS, can you attach to multiple instances in different availability zones when there's the multi-attached, or they have to be in the same availability zone?
I need to be sure on that, but I think they have to be in the same availability zone so that even you see the close, how do you call this? The cross region data transfer, it has additional charges. So it needs to be also taken into consideration. Otherwise, someone may be ending up paying a lot of cost of transfer out of the region because there is this data transfer. So there I need to be sure, but I think they should be in one availability zone, the same availability zone.
Okay,
so
thank
you. I will confirm that in the receive.
Yeah. So the correct answer is only EFS because that one will be attached to multiple instances which are in even different availability zone. Instant store, it's not something you can attach to different instances. It just comes on its own with a specific instance. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so it's going to the top. what is not AWS responsibility when it comes to EC2 storage? Okay, so here the keyword is not. So now here we're looking what is not AWS responsibility. So as we know, AWS is responsible for the infrastructure, but then as a user, you're responsible how you use the infrastructure. And also AWS is the one responsible for changing any faulty hardware because users don't have access to those hardwares. But then when it comes to like security of your data and stuff, you are responsible. So AWS won't be responsible for setting up data encryption. And at the same time, AWS is responsible for the replication for data for ABS volumes and EFS scripts. Okay, I can see Mr. Ashil has the highest answer streak of 9. Great. Let's move on. We're left with 2 questions. A user wants to connect to an instance storage using SMB protocol or Windows NTFS. Which storage can they use? Okay, some people say AFS, and then, okay, so FSX for Windows File Server is the correct answer because here the keywords are SMB protocol and Windows NTFS. So when you see SMB protocol, that means you know that you have to use FSX for Windows File Server. For EFX, it can be used for like any Mac or Linux, I guess, file system. But then when you see immediately Windows, you have to now choose either to go with FSX for Lastre or FSX for Windows File Server. Now when you see SMB, so it should be for Windows File Server. I hope it makes sense. And then let's move on to the last question. The application workload requires a high performance parallel storage to process the training datasets concurrently. So which storage should be used? Okay, so some people say EFS and then others AFX for Lastre, which is the correct one. Here the keyword is high performance computing, and even this parallel also is the keyword. So when they're looking for a high performance, so like they're looking for the storage, we can give high speeds for like machine learning use cases, like training data sets. Now FSX is the correct one, and EFS is not the correct one because it does not provide that parallel and high performance compute. So yeah, who is on the podium? Great, we have Hillary on the 3rd place, Serge on the 2nd place, and Kevin. When are you going to give us maybe a place where we can also be the first people here? But congrats to all of you guys. You did an amazing job. And if you didn't get to choose the correct answer, don't worry, just try to revise during the week, and next time you get everything right. Let me stop sharing. And then I see some. Oh no, Kevin, I don't mean that you I don't mean that you shouldn't participate. But yeah, thank you everyone. I don't know if anyone has a question. Actually close this. Or any feedback, anything before we close. Okay, I guess.
Just want to thank the team. Thanks, Eric. I really learned a lot today, especially with multi-attach. I think I'll go research and see whether I can do a lab around it. And yeah, thank you so much. It has been a good night learning session. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you everyone. Then I think we can end. Our next session will be on elastic load balancer. And I think Serge had a question on it last week. So this coming session, which will be next week, Saturday, we will cover on auto scaling groups and elastic load balancer. So don't miss that, and it will be the same structure as well at the same time. Wish you all a great weekend. It was nice being with you again. Oh, Renee, you want to say, yeah, Renee, you can go on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I also want to echo on what Cynthia said. Thank you all for joining our session. And as a reminder, once again, please do your own practice or on the AWS management console, create some EC2, and of course, be mindful of the costs. Make sure that you terminate every EC2 instance or any compute resource or even any resource on the AWS that you might create, which is on the free tier, so that you won't generate up any cost that you might regret after. So please do use the free tier as an advantage for you guys to practice. I think mostly of the services that we are teaching you and some of the things are compatible with the free tier eligible resources. So please do use that and let things fail. Let yourself not get a green ribbon on the top. Just have a red ribbon and ping us on the WhatsApp group. Let it fail for you to actually know where things should be done and where things shouldn't be done, so that you can get more experience while using this. Do not fret. Do not fear that AWS has a lot of services. You shouldn't be knowing all the services, but at least the essential services, or those that we are trying to teach you right here, use them, see how things are done, watch YouTube videos, go and read some documentation, because all of that has been provided for you and nothing else except for you guys. So kudos to everyone who has been persistent, just as the EBS storage. Persistence just as the EBS storage coming to these sessions, and we're gonna see you for the next session. So thank you so much. That's for you, Cynthia.
Thank you. And yeah, I guess we can end. I should actually